Hi, everyone. It's Leanne West, and I'm president of the International Children's Advisory Network. I just want to welcome you today to Ask the Experts with Anthony Chang.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for iCAN's Ask the Experts. We're here today to discuss some of the content about advising and advocacy. So if you're familiar with our Share Your Story, you may know a little bit about the differences, and we can discuss, how that applies to you, how you can be effective speakers, how you can share your story, and how you can make change that's positive in the world around you. So I think since we have a small group, and I know we may know each other, but it's nice for anyone who's listening in to go ahead and do an introduction. And let's say your name, where you're from, and let's say one thing you're looking forward to for summer. And I will pick on Valeria first.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Valeria. I'm from Italy, and this.
Let's see, one thing that you are looking forward to this summer.
I didn't know because I don't know if I can follow there directly or online, so I didn't know. But we are creating this day our poster, our summit poster.
That's fun. I love that. I think that'll be a great thing. Are you looking forward to anything else in your hometown or something in your area? Is there some event that might be happening that you're looking forward to?
I think no.
No? Okay. All right. Well, and if you think of something later and you want to share it, you can always unmute and go ahead. Let's go with Rhiannon next. Rhiannon, what are you looking forward to this summer? And if you could give an introduction.
So hi, I'm Rhiannon Perry. I am the Young Adult Professional Chair. I am really excited for the summit, which is in the summer. But I'm also looking forward to the summer punches that we have, like the little slushies and stuff. Not that you can have it all the time, but the summer drinks and probably the beach. That's great. I'm doing the beach. So.
Oh, those are good ones. I love the beach, especially too. And it always tells me it's summertime when you can go to the beach. All right, Claire, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm Claire DeStromp. I'm an associate specialist with iCAN, and gosh, I can't even think of. I'm excited for so many things this summer. Like one, the summit. Two, going to the beach. I mean, Rhiannon really picked she said a lot of good ones there. But yeah, I'm excited to go camping and spending time on the beach and spending time with my family and friends. So lots to look forward to. How about you, Amy?
So, as you guys know, I'm Amy Omer, and I'm the director of the International Children's Advisory Network. And what I'm most looking forward to this summer is one, continuing to spend time with all of you. And especially in the summer, it seems like it's much more relaxed with iCAN. So we don't have to worry so much about school and having to do assignments and homework and things like that. So it's a nice free time to just be able to do creative things. And then the second thing I really enjoy is that my family is home from their college. So I'm able to spend more time with my girls and to see them more in person than during the school year. So those are my favorite things. And what I think is a nice thing about what all of us just did is we all did an advisement. We shared our story of where we are and we shared what we are doing so that we could educate others about what's happening in our part of the world. So that's a good example of an advisor. You just gave an advisement of your own story and your own life just in this little introduction. And you all did it so nicely. And today, I think that'll be a great thing to look at is the difference between advising and advocacy. So we can hear a little bit more and have some explanation to one or the other and hear your thoughts about the matter. And I just noticed Karen joined in. So I'm going to have Karen introduce herself. And Karen, what we're doing is we're saying our names, where we're from in the world, and something we're looking forward to this summer.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. Let's see, Karen Feinberg from Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I feel as a global citizen and currently based in Boston, Massachusetts. And what I'm looking forward to, there are many things, one of which is getting my brace off from a knee fracture from a bike fall. So looking forward to that, but a lot of other things I'm looking forward to.
Ouch. I hope it has been a smooth transition to healing and you haven't had
Thank
much pain.
you.
Owie.
Owie is good, right? Yeah.
Uh, well, I am so glad, Karen, what we were just talking about is advisement. And what you just gave was a great example of advising someone of a little bit about your story, just a 2-second few sentences about who you are and where you're from and something you like. And that's a really great example of being an advisor. And what's terrific is this whole group that's on here today can do that really easily, it appears. There may be times where you feel a little nervous or you're a little uncomfortable, but one thing that you all did was you spoke eloquently about where you are and who you are because you knew those answers really well. They're your personal story. And that's one of the things that we love to share at iCAN is your personal journey, your personal story, and being able to put it in a way that helps other people to understand it. And you don't have to be perfect at it. There's no perfect needed, but it's a great way to kind of spark thinking from someone else who may not be in your journey or may not be a part of this exact situation that you go through. And it's a little different than advocacy. So switching gears for a moment, I think the next thing we'll do is we will all take turns unmuting and we're going to talk about something that we're really passionate about. So in a few sentences, try to share to the group something that you're passionate about and why you're passionate about it. And the hope is that by doing that, we all become very passionate about your cause, the thing that you are thinking of most. So to kick this one off, I'll actually go first on this one. And I'm going to say, again, a little introduction about myself, and I'm going to explain something that I am very passionate about in a way that hopefully makes all of you want to join in my cause. And to go right now, it'll say, my name is Amy Omer. I am the director of the International Children's Advisory Network, and something I'm very passionate about is personal to me. Both of my daughters were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at very young ages. And what I hope to do is to take our stories and inspire them to making sure that all doctors around the world use a very simple, very short test to see if other kids might have diabetes at their wellness visits. It only costs $1 to do this test, and it doesn't hurt. You can use this test by sampling stream of urine to see if blood sugar is high in the urine. And just by checking that, you can hopefully avoid having any complications down the road where you might miss a diagnosis, because most kids they don't show that they have type 1 until it's much, much later and it's very urgent. So my hope is that by using this test, we can make a difference and we can support other kids everywhere around the world. So that's my really 2-second little short mini appeal. Thank you, Claire. And now I'd like to go around and open it up. And instead of me calling on you, if you're ready to talk about something you're passionate about, just go ahead and unmute and jump in.
I guess I'll start. And I just got an idea from what you were just saying. So, Amy, I'm going to send you an email to further that. So look out for an email from me. Okay. So I'm Karen Feinberg. As of late, I'm framing what I'm doing in the world as a mission-driven innovation and strategy consultancy that I've been growing for many, many, many years. And let's see, I'm passionate about innovation across many different angles of things. Every facet of innovation across sectors, across stakeholders, across issues, and tied into imagination and also crossing boundaries. So I don't work in a siloed fashion. Or people say, pick one thing. I don't work that way. I work in a web of things. So, and eventually these webs of things start coming together in amazingly dynamic ways. So I guess a consultancy beyond borders, a person who thinks dynamically and is passionate about helping others do that as well. How's that?
That's perfect. I love that. And I love that you're taking something that is really personal to you and making it part of your mission. I think that's a really key component to advocacy is finding what you're passionate about and then helping others to understand it. So I think that's really great. I love that. I saw Rhiannon. I think you were going to say something, so I wanted to have you unmute too.
Yeah. So I'm Rhiannon Perry. I am for the young adult professional chair. I am really passionate about really improving the hospitalization of young patients, especially those who have terminal illnesses or chronic illnesses, just things that require them to be in the hospital consistently and more often than, I guess, normal. And that kind of comes from my own experience in the hospital and kind of being raised in that environment. But yeah, so I want to be able to make a change there. I want to be able to comfort those patients and ensure that they feel comfortable because that is a part of their life and they should have a say and they should feel safe in that environment. So that's just a passion of mine to keep going and why I continue to work with Hope for Henry and iCAN to advocate.
I love that so much. You want them to feel safe and comfortable in the environment of being in a hospital, which is so unusual for most people, you know, and even if they are frequent flyers, you want to improve that experience so that they feel better about where they are and the journey they're on. I think that's incredible. That's really, really nice. And, you know, I'd want to join these causes. Like this makes me want to go back to iCAN and do something that improves it and helps it because we know that that's a need. And you're speaking from your own experiences too, which also implies and shows us that, you know, this isn't something that's done. It's not one person that's been affected, not one kid, not one young adult, but it continues. And so the more we can do, the better. I love it. That's great. All right. Did that spark any more ideas? Valeria, do you have something you want to share?
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm from Italy. I'm a fourth year art school, classical art school, and I have many passions like arts in general, from the simple drawing to the music or the dance or the theater, then also reading books. But also these two passions, I think that it is main important to other people because I think that maybe if some people are shy, they can express themselves or in writing or in drawing or in every kind of arts. And then I like also medicines and also the research because firstly, because I have a rare disease, so I know what it is the medicine, and with also my school, and the course I do in my school, the medical course, I know very many things, especially in our body, and you know also so how we are composed and we are formed and how our body works, and also with the group of kids we make many things, and I think also not only to celebrate for example a party, international day like the Rare Disease Day or other days, but also um, um, but also to make to raise awareness or to make known our other people or other guys that maybe doesn't know some kinds of disease or what our research works. So it is what I like and I love mostly, because with these things we can make knowledge or some new things, and maybe also this involves also when during the society or also in the school, in the same school, because maybe we don't know, but in a class there are they can maybe hire some students that maybe are situations like some disease or something that maybe can be isolated because others doesn't know, or so with this work we search to make know, and also to make many people wants to many people involved in the society or in a group. And also with this idea, also I want to become also a pediatrician, but also a researcher, because I want to develop or some new some unknown disease or some ways to make some people away a little normal, because I know what it is the life with a disease or therapy. And I know that it's difficult when you know for the first time you have a problem or a disease. So I want to make a little normal or a little easy for his family or for the person himself or herself.
Valeria, I love that. And I want to go back to what you said at the very beginning about theater and dance and, having kids out there just being able to move and to express themselves in a way that really allow them to overcome their shyness or maybe, something that's hindering them. And then partnering that with all of that learning and knowledge that you hope to give kids in medicine and working towards becoming a researcher. Those are passion items, definitely. And I think that's a great way to advocate for kids who may not have those experiences or that ability to do that. That is a tricky thing sometimes for kids to get experience in science and math and medicine and technology and, to learn more being immersed in those types of educational streams. And so that's a great thing to advocate for. And it's terrific because you literally spelled out STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And I love that. It's a core mission of what we hope to do and what we hope we can provide. So thank you for sharing that. It's really terrific.
Add it really quickly. Valeria, I'm so inspired by what you said. I just think it is amazing how many different avenues. And I think as I've talked with a lot of different people and patients, sometimes it's hard for us to really see the light and to find passion in the things that we do. But I just think it's so beautiful that you have gone through what you go through, and still have so much passion and so much drive to do the things that you're doing. So more power to you, girl. I love that for you.
And that's so great. This is what today's session really is. It's about understanding that advisement and that advocacy, two parallel ways of talking and thinking, but also both equally meaningful. Like one is not greater than the other because we need both. We need to be able to share our story and explain who we are and what we're doing. And then we need to be able to help others jump on the train to make sure that we make those positive changes. So we have a special friend that just joined us today, and I see Ed is here. Ed, what we started with, and I want to give you the opportunity to kind of pick up where we had everybody introduce themselves. Say your name, where you're from, and something you're looking forward to this summer.
Hi to all of you. I'm Nasasra Melchizedek Eddie from Uganda, but I live now in Italy. I'm 22 years old since April. My dream is becoming a doctor. For this summer, I have a plan of studying because I have to do an entrance exam for university. So I will be so much busy. But I will sometimes go to the sea because I really like it since I got to know how to swim for since few years because later longer time ago I couldn't swim because of the ices. So it is now my passion.
Oh, I love that. I love that you can go swimming now and you don't have to worry about an IV line or anything like that. That's wonderful. Oh, that's so nice. And it makes my heart just very, very happy. And I
Thank
also
you.
love the sea. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I saw Karen, you had your hand up. I didn't want to miss you. Did you want to add to that?
I just had a thought about the notion of advocacy because I think it's so layered. And the thing that popped up into my head is it's this art of advocating for your needs, for yourself, for your cause, without it's an art because there's this, you don't want to kind of imply that there's a should or forcing yourself onto others. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of a tricky, you want to advocate and you want change wherever that may be, policy to ground, wherever. But on the other hand, it's an art. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it either, but it's the art of not forcing it down somebody's throat, or I guess, because that can backfire. So that's what I was just thinking about advocacy.
I think that's an excellent point. So as an advocate, you want to not strong arm somebody, make them, force them into your plan because that won't work. Somebody might not really believe in what you're telling them, believe in the cause. Sometimes I think what helps is to advocate in small bits. So you might not be able to move the mountain, so to speak, all at once, but you can do little bits at a time. So if we work together, we build up a crowd, we get more people to join us, then you can make real, true, positive change. So, having the expectation, it might take some time to share why something is happening the way it's happening and advocate for that positive change. And I always say positive change because truly, you want to have something that impacts the majority in a way that helps them. I think that's a really important thing about being a true leader and about also being an advocate is impacting positively.
I also think, Amy and everybody, it's very relationally based, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Deeper advocacy in a way.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, you're not going to be able to build relationships with every single person, but if you try to understand the other, even if you don't agree, but you're building authentic relationships along the way, I think it can help and also lead to conduits to people that can be helpful, in the cause, et cetera, et cetera. So that's also something I'm advocating for.
I love that. We're advocating for advocacy. Rhiannon.
I just wanted to say, I think education is also an essential part of it. I think you may not agree with the opposing side, but it's always really good to understand where everybody is coming from. And then, Karen, as you said, making those friends, even with the people that you don't 100% agree with, even with, all types of crowds, just ensure that you kind of put yourself in different places because different perspectives help you understand where you're coming from, help to build your argument, but also to help see how other people think and feel. So I think advocacy is something that's kind of well rounded and isn't just about speaking about what you believe.
I think that's really good. So Rhiannon, what I'm hearing is almost like diplomacy. So you have to build that trust, you have to bridge groups together, and you have to make those relationships like Karen was talking about.
That's a really good word to put it as. And I also think it's about leadership as well. I think sometimes people don't want to have those hard conversations, and sometimes they get too stuck in their ways. And I think we talked about this in another episode or another part of our chapter, but it's just about bringing these tough conversations to the forefront, and being open for rejection, being open for challenges, and also being open to furthering the conversation. So it's about leadership, diplomacy, just a whole bunch of things.
Okay, so what I think we can do now, and this might be kind of fun, I think we need 3 volunteers, and this is an exercise that we do sometimes to help sort of engage that idea of advocacy. And so what we'll give you, if we get 3 volunteers, is a topic, and we'll need one who wants to play the role of a patient, one who wants to play the role of a doctor, and one who wants to play the role of a parent. And in this scenario, what we will have is a young person who is thinking about participating in a clinical trial, a doctor who is telling the child about the clinical trial and saying, you know, here's the benefits of why we want you to take a new medicine. And then we have the parent who might be a little concerned and worried, and doesn't know if they should have their child participate in a clinical trial. And so the goal of this one is for the young person to advocate for themselves, to share their voice. So if we'd like to kind of work out this scenario, I think it's always kind of fun to utilize some of the role-playing skills to think about advocacy in a way that's on a personal level. And then we can take that same idea and we can move it to like a bigger level, a bigger topic once you're out into the world doing something on your own. So who would like to start off?
I volunteer to be a doctor.
You want to be the doctor? All right, Ed's
Yeah.
the doctor. Who would like to be the parent? I cannot be the parent. I'm the parent in real life.
Rhiannon, are you going to be the parent?
Yeah, I'll be the parent.
I was going to say, I was like, I'll take it otherwise. I totally understand, Amy.
Yes. And Valeria, do you mind being the patient?
Okay.
Okay, so there's no real script here. This would be like an activity we would do if we were in a group, as a chapter, you know, doing this together as just a group. So let's pretend that the medicine is a pill that you have to swallow. The trial lasts for 2 months, but you have to take the pill 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And what it will do, in this case, we will say it reverses hair loss in girls. So in this case, if you take this pill, the hope is, not that it's guaranteed, but the hope is that it'll reduce hair loss in girls. And then let's say for this particular one, you could get the medicine or it could be blinded and you may not get the medicine. You won't know either way. So it's a blinded trial. And that's pretty much, I think, the details for this one. And then you can imagine the rest of the details if you like. So Ed, as a doctor, you can explain a little bit about the trial in a passionate way, but it also stays towards the facts of the matter. And Valeria, your goal is to participate in this trial, and Rhiannon, you're a little hesitant because you're not sure if you want your lovely daughter to be in this trial or not. All right, are you guys ready? Ed, we'll kick it off to you first.
We have a trial that we are taking on. These pills may have some effects, but we need a consent form so that we can take over this process. First of all, we have to explain to the children what may come on, then to the parent, and when they are consent, we have to go on with the medicine, but the patient must be under care. and care. So in contact with the doctor so that we can record every process and every change. If the pill goes on well, we must go on so that we can see what might come on as an effect or something advantageous. If this pill comes on well, we have to change, and we see what may come on, if there can be a betterment or somehow down. So if we have a nice advantage, if you have an advantage, we have to present this peer as something that has come on advantageous. But in some patients, some pills may not work because we are all different. So sometimes a pill can work for someone, and to another one it might not work. So we have to test this in a variety of times. So I can ask if the patient can consent and if the parent can do so.
Valeria, what do you think?
Well, I think we can do, but does anyone can make this trial?
Have to first of all a consent so that we can have data processes. So we have to first see the diseases you have, so that this trial cannot affect the other diseases we are not talking about. So we have to first check everything. So do you have some other diseases apart from this we are going to try?
So I have to say that my daughter is very sensitive. I'm not sure that this medication is going to be able to do what we need. Are you sure that she's going to be able to take this along with her other antibiotics that she has?
Pardon?
Is this medication okay to take with anything else? Do you know?
Please can you repeat?
Yeah, of course. Are you sure that this medicine is okay to take with something else? Can I pair these two medications? Because she has other things that we do. She has an autoimmune deficiency, so we have to make sure that she takes those medications as well. Is it safe?
Some effects can come on as can be advantageous, while others can be disadvantageous. So we have to check the patient if there are some diseases apart from this we are going to check on. So this trial is not yet universal, because we have not yet tried anything that has come advantageous. So there are bad effects, and they might be good effects and bad effects.
So Valeria, I just want to make sure that you understand that this medication is not 100% up to par. We're not sure how it's going to work out. How does that make you feel?
Pardon?
And Valeria, you really want this trial. So your passionate plea now is to go in and explain why this is important to you.
This is it. Can I go on? This trial is important because there are many diseases that people define different, but in reality they are not rare diseases, because almost many people have got these diseases. So that we have to start from anywhere to come up with something new. So this trial is very important, because we don't we don't say that we can heal them, but we can we can improve the betterment of their lives. So it is very
So,
important to have a nice standard of living.
so Valeria, I'm really hesitant. I'm not 100% sure that I like the optics. Why do you think this is important? Why do you want this?
Because I think that with this trial I can help if if the medicines go well, that maybe some other people, some others can I can help some others who has the same disease or the same problem. So I think that it can help many other people's. Um,
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, now that you said a little bit more, I think it's awesome that you want to advocate for others and that you want to use your experience to kind of pave the way for others. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that before we make the final decision?
Before we add this person to the list, we have to first see uh, the advantages and disadvantages. First of all, the advantages, our patient might come on with a nice idea has come on with a nice idea because if everything went well, this period this period could be approved, so it might be universal. So we can help many patients other than those who we have not yet tried. So this is the first advantage. Another advantage is that our patient continues this courage of helping others apart starting from her. The advantages might be, for example, like the pill we are going to take is not yet tested. There must be mortality because it is not yet tested. Another disadvantage is that there might be some effects, bad effects. For example, vomiting, though it is not as worse as we can think. For another effect, illness. Though among the disadvantages, there are some effects that can be reversible and irreversible. For example, if you vomit, everything is okay. But the disadvantages that are irreversible, for example, some diseases that cannot get healed. So we may end up causing another danger. So to enter in this list, you have to be aware of everything before you start, and you can enter and come out every time you want, anytime you want. So it is not compulsory to participate or go out.
So I just have a question. How is this clinical trial important to you? Why do you want to do it?
Why do I want
Mhm.
to?
Why are you advocating for this trial? Why do you think it's important to you?
For me, it is important because I would like to improve the way of living for the patients. Because personally, now I talk as a doctor and as a person with an experience of it. Personally, it is very important to improve a person is living because most of times they don't feel them as they don't feel them as people because they think they are different. So in case we try to improve the patient's life, the patient comes into a new world. The patient starts relationships with other people, because when they are still patients, they fear to go out. They fear to get in relationship with people who are normal. So if the pill comes well, this patient may not fear again. She will have to start a new life. So this is important to me, to see patients living as normal people, not as patients.
Well, I really like what you said, and I kind of agree. So, Valeria, if you're still okay with it, then I think we can go ahead and do this trial.
What I don't understand very well.
Do you still want to do this trial?
Yes, I would.
Awesome. Then I think we can go ahead and do it.
Yay, you guys are amazing. Take a bow. That was so good. So, all of you played the parts of really showing what advocacy looks like in a real world situation, and one that's personal. You know, this happens to kids and families and doctors on an everyday basis, especially in the world of research and medicine. So, I think this is terrific. And I think the points were excellent. Ed, I love that you balanced with pros and cons. Rhiannon, I love that you didn't just immediately jump on board. You wanted to hear the facts and the evidence to understand it. And Valeria, I love that you wanted to make sure mom was happy, that she also agreed, but you were excited and challenged by this and wanting to embrace it for not just yourself, but for other kids just like you. And I love that all these pieces came together. Obviously, we did this in a way that makes it all wrap up in like 5 minutes, but in real world, it might take some time. And it's okay to go through all these thoughts and have it over a period of time. You know, as Karen had said, advocacy isn't right away. It takes time to build, and it takes time to build those relationships. So the trust that Rhiannon had with her doctor, with her child's doctor, it probably wasn't built instantly. It probably needed a little bit of time to actually occur. And I'm sure there was multiple conversations that happened to get there. And Valeria, the understanding of even participating in a clinical trial might take kids some time to learn and to understand what that looks like so that they can build on that knowledge. And what I loved, Ed, is that you weren't afraid of any question. You wanted to answer everything, which is a great sign of really building that trust and having advocacy that works. Karen, did you want to say something too?
Two things come to mind. One, in real world time is always urgent in these systems. And so time, I mean, I've had my own experiences, not as a mom, for instance, but for my own experiences, and time, I guess it depends on the context, and again, I don't know how it really operates with clinical trials, but it seems like everybody's so urgent in these systems, and to slow down and really pay attention to those needs and cares and wants is lacking in the system, and I think that's really problematic. The other thing that years ago came to mind, and perhaps it's changed, but I went to this. It's called Mass Bio, and it's this advocacy organization in Massachusetts, innovation ecosystem, healthcare ecosystem, I guess, and they had a big seminar on international partnerships on clinical trials and all kinds of things. And one thing that was very interesting to me that comes to mind is those in, for instance, Argentina, people who've been doing clinical trials for years, that they stay in those clinical trials for years because of the relationships that the researchers and doctors form with these patients. And that's, I think, unique, I guess. And maybe because, Latin America is perhaps, I mean, maybe that's stereotype, but a little bit more relational. I think a lot of cultures are, as opposed to America, let's sort of get to the point already. And so I just think that's an interesting set of issues. If anybody wants to comment on that, or if your experience is, am I right on? I'm sure it's one-off experiences, exception to rules. But anybody have any thoughts on what I just said?
So I did want to comment on the time part. I think time in certain situations is relative, but at the end of the day, in terms of clinical trials, I think it's on all parties and mostly on the doctor to ensure that those important conversations are quick and efficient, especially when it comes to being educated and also educating. And that's kind of the role of a doctor. It's to have the information that you want to your patients, because really it's a necessity, but you're the person who's bringing it to them to ensure that it happens. So it's a requirement on your part to ensure that the patients and the parents are all grounded and educated, that you allow them time to contemplate and to talk, and you don't make them feel rushed, but you also kind of stay mindful of the time and also communicate that. So I think essentially all around, it's definitely about communicating, and being open to hear the things that are going on. And again, the doctor just being kind of the leader in all of that, advocating for both the patient and the parent, and for the clinical trial that they want, but not just seeing it one-sided. And then I think the relationship aspect is really important, as you said. I think as you build relationships, I mean, personally, I have built strong relationships with all of my doctors, which I'm very fortunate to have. But it does make the difference between, am I going to listen to this person, or am I going to go someplace else and do my own thing? So I think, again, it is on the doctors to be mindful of that and to do their best to create those relationships, because in the real world, you're not going to listen to somebody that you don't understand, who you don't like, who you don't think is able to communicate with you, who you don't trust. Oh, my AirPods fell out. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So I think that with communicating, building those relationships, and understanding one another, as well as being a leader.
I think
agree
that's
with
great. Claire, did you
Yeah,
want to
sorry,
jump in?
Amy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say, I really think it is. I 100% agree on it all being relative to the situation, because I've been in some fast-paced situations. I've gone to a doctor out of state where everything was within a time span for a week of testing, and everything moved pretty quickly. But I think what made everything really important was the relationships I built. And I know the examples of, I remember doctors that I did not have a good relationship, and I didn't like um, either the ideas they offered and how quickly they did that and without very much reason. So I think that most people prefer to have a good relationship or some sort of relationship with their doctor, and that will push along any of the, a study, anything that they're going to do. I think that's super important, and maybe that differs per person, but I find it very important. Rhiannon found it really important to have that good relationship, and I think that's a little universal for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see someone continuously that you don't like or don't trust. I mean, at school or at work, if there's somebody that I don't like, then I obviously you do the thing to try to just avoid that situation to better yourself and to better the other person. So, with something as important as your health, you don't want to waste time on someone who you don't feel comfortable with. And again, as you said, those fast-paced situations, it's kind of on the doctor to recognize that this is serious, this is happening, and it can be very, very, very stressful for all parties. Not only just for one person who's advocating for themselves, like Claire, you're fortunate enough to be old enough to kind of say these are the decisions that I'm making. But for younger people, especially pediatric patients, you have the parent perspective, and the parents all about getting my kid better. Let's do the fastest path. Let's do this. And then the kids on the other side, like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. I don't really understand, or how does this work, or I don't agree, or trying to speak up in two different levels. You have speaking up above your parent, and then you have speaking up above the doctor. And if you have a time crunch in the situation where it's we have to do this now, it's a stressful, very, very stressful relationship or situation. So again, that relationship aspect is really important to ensure that you can feel comfortable enough to talk about that.
I think that is so remarkable. And I love Claire and Rhiannon that you shared that. And that really is true, that there's a lot of relationship building that needs to happen, but it needs to happen with the doctor initiating it first and building that communication and that trust. And Ed would probably, I see he's nodding his head. So as a future doctor, Ed, you have to remember these things when you go back in and help your families. So Okay, so we have 10 minutes left. And what I would like to do to summarize this, because I think this took a really neat sort of turn, as sometimes our Ask the Experts do. If you could give 3 traits to doctors that are important in building that trust, that communication with patients, I think that would be great to summarize this session with, 3 things that you really would love to tell a doctor that you wish that they kept in their thoughts. And it can be really simple. It could be, for my example, I'm going to use building trust, being honest, and having empathy. Those are my 3 things that I really wish
And,
all doctors knew. So go
and
ahead and jump
approach.
in, Ed.
I have something to add. Approach.
Approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meet people where they are.
Oh, I like that too. And you're not limited. So if you have more to jump in with, go ahead.
I would say a big one for me when I think about it, ask me about me. Like ask your patient about them and not just, your disease matter, like where are you from? What do you like? All of those are really important in forging a relationship.
Yeah.
I would say recognize time. So be mindful of the time span for the treatment, but also be mindful of the time span for the patient.
And I really liked Amy. I like your piece on honesty. I feel like I had a doctor who, for me, couldn't do something, or we could have, but the percentage of it working was about like 60%. And he's like, I could do this, but I don't want to. And here is why. And I really, even today, like 7 years later, I still very much appreciate his words on that and advising me to go to somebody else because he couldn't do that. So I think that's a very big appreciation piece in building a good relationship.
And to piggyback on that, one of the things that my mom used to say a lot during our appointments was, well, how would you treat your daughter? Or how would you treat your family member? So don't treat me any lesser than what you would do for your family, who you would wish to have the best care in the world for. So treat your patients like family.
I would say also within reason, of course, a little humor can be helpful. Whatever that might mean, and encouragement and hopeful without being Pollyannish or unrealistic.
Yes, I always enjoy too a little getting to know you. Tell me about your personal life to a point and share a little bit about yourself personally, because that helps me to humanize who you are so we can have that relationship.
I think bringing in from Karen a little bit, being optimistic about things, but also realistic is important.
Oh, and bring all the facts. And be prepared to ask questions, answer questions, just be open to questions.
I also have one within reason, of course. But I've been in systems where they don't like that I'm an advocate for myself. Actually, I heard stories from my mom as well. And that's an art for a doctor, I think, to take in. Know thyself, both from the doctor and the patient. Anyway, so I don't think all medical systems are very good with patients or people being advocates for themselves. I don't think just healthcare, I think everywhere, personally, but.
Valeria, do you have any you want to add?
Maybe the honest, like you said, or the correct kind of language in every kind of age of the patients. and also maybe when it is maybe also for build a good relationship with between patients and the doctor, maybe when the doctor had to say something that maybe can be positive or negative, to try to get the right the right to talking with the right talking in simply, and also he or the doctor can try to search a way to work with the patients to make a good work on this or the positive or negative about maybe our maybe a clinical or maybe a control, or maybe just I think that it is a result negative to make a better way.
I love that. I think this has been one of my very favorite sessions we've had. And I'm so glad that you all shared your perspectives. You helped us all understand a little bit more about advocacy and advisement, and you shared your stories. What I think we would love to do with this is take these snippets and share back. Maybe we can do something fun and make, you know, something great out of this little discussion, because it would be helpful for other doctors to know, other researchers, and maybe other kids to see, you know, what families are going through. So watch for more to come. Let's see what we can do. And if you have any brainstorming or you think about something you want to add to today's session, reach out, email us. We love your ideas. And I am so looking forward to next month. This is why we get up on a Saturday morning. We're so glad to share with you. Or it's Saturday afternoon if you're on the other side of the big pond. We are so happy to see you before nighttime. So thank you so much for joining us. And with that, I'm going to give you back the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.